The tricky mind will convince us that when we're not suffering there is no need to do practice anymore. It will say we are okay now, and so we abandon the wonderful life-changing teaching straight back into our old habits. Because we have done some practice, we have stored some positive energy and have developed a better outlook on life. But this positive energy will soon get depleted and we will become even more destitute than we were before we started with the practice.
I can see that in the past I was not confident about my outlook. Having the ability to meditate is important, or I'm going to continue to go back to my old habits. As you said, I should find the cause and apply the solution. I do want to do it, yeah. I don't want to jump from one thing to another. I would like to be out of a relationship until I feel better and more stable.
Yes, having some independence is exactly what you need. You intuitively know what you need, and that's why meditation will give you a peaceful mind, can look deeper and know yourself. But it's hard to give up the old habits because the ex-boyfriend would just send you a message with just a few words, "Hi, I miss you," and already you're right back where you started. The heartbeats for joy, the mind is ecstatic, and all the old memories go away for a little while. The message is like the key to unlocking the door to all these past memories, all the memories and feelings that you visualized so many times. Of course, the words will be sweet and enticing and your reply equally lovely. The wheel of the cycle turns and you are back to the start.
I know the story
of the Buddha. And positive in the hope of a different result. But inevitably the result will be exactly the same. With you feeling heartbroken and distraught and emotionally exhausted. This is why people get married, so they can have boundaries and guidelines that should create emotionally stable environments, but sadly when we impose rules like these on undeveloped minds, the outcomes aren't always as we desired. For example, many people fall in love over the internet. They have never seen each other, but they have already decided, "I want to be married, this is my true love who I want to spend the rest of my life with." Imagine that, we fall in love and decide to marry somebody we have never even met. What kind of reality is that? It begs the question of what is reality? We experience reality through the senses, thought, sight, hearing, feeling, taste, smell, and also intuition. These are all aspects of reality that when combined still do not give us a complete experience, because reality depends on our logic and skill, and all this is then filtered through our wisdom mind. When someone communicates with us, it is like a key that opens the subconscious, and we are no longer communicating consciously, but we are communicating from a position of all our past knowledge and experiences. If somebody we met on the internet can motivate us to invest our lives so dangerously, then surely, we can motivate ourselves to do meditation and to use all of these inspirations we had with the stranger to visualize something wonderful like heaven or like love by empowering ourselves to experience and enter into a deeper reality. For example, we talked about helping the old man across the road. We will have the same or even better result just visualizing this kind of experience in meditation. This is the immensely powerful healing and transformative nature of meditation. We can do it sitting on the cushion at home, and we don't need others to participate in order to experience the profound nature of how our human nature interfaces with reality. It's all about comprehending, generating and expressing values. Anyone can do it, and it's free.
The guy I am talking about I have known for 10 years.
How about instead of thinking of this guy, you substitute him for a healthy meditation object? You could choose the Buddha, your grandfather, your father, somebody from history who has had a positive influence on the world. For example, you could focus on their positive qualities and explore their meaning and effect on your mind and the goodness that they bring into the world. If you have the key to open the mind, and all the fruits of your actions will come pouring out, which will motivate you and give you energy and spin inspiration. So, try to switch this guy into the beneficial object of meditation. Don't procrastinate and avoid doing your meditation. Get it done even if you don't want to do it. Eventually, you will start having amazing experiences and fall in love with meditation. If you do it often enough, then that is the inevitable result. By then you would have understood what meditation is, and it will have transformed your life. You uncover a positive outlook, positive energy, and rediscovered your motivation. You seldom meditate because you can't get around to it, right? Yes, yeah. Okay, I will give you something that's useful. I'm going to give you a small Buddha, okay, one day I will explain the Buddha to you what it really means. Buddha is nothing to do with a Buddhist temple, you know, temple or church. Buddha has nothing to do with religion. Buddha. When Buddha was born and grew up, he was just like you and me. He had no friends.
I know the story of the Buddha.
What I'm talking about here has very little to do with the historical story of the Buddha. And if you did know, then you would be shining. When Buddha was growing up, he was suffering the same as we do. And he saw suffering in the world all around him. The Buddha was not famous or supported by any group. He was an ascetic outcast from society wandering around by himself, but he did make some friends who would like him. Normal people didn't understand these ascetics and saw them as dangerous and unpleasant. Buddha was on a personal journey that no normal person could understand. Buddha has been searching for many lifetimes for ways to overcome the suffering, exactly like you and me, except the Buddha was highly realized but not yet enlightened. He had been searching for the ultimate realization honors meditation path just like you and me. But his nature is your nature and my nature. In this way we are no different from the Buddha, except that the Buddha has been consciously searching for many lifetimes and had evolved his view and realization because it was not veiled or distracted by worldly values. The difference between us and the Buddha is that we only see part of the truth. Even though we are innately connected with reality, our awareness is lacking. All we have to do to discover and reinforce our connection is to look and learn the nature of the mind. Is nothing in the world that can help us because we are already connected, therefore we just have to nurture the view of this connection. Seeing part of the truth is a great start, but knowing that we are unhappy and imbalanced is essential to discovering the greater, more complete reality. Slowly as we continue on the path, reality becomes more and more clear. Even though sometimes we're in the lower part of the cycle and we have little hope, we patiently continue and observe the spontaneous change. This way we become masters of the cycles and are not thrown into a depression so easily. This is called stability, which is conscious awareness of the nature of reality. Everybody sees the truth, but because we only see it partially, we grasp it within the cycling consciousness, which results in the experience of the small worldly view that drags us along through the cycling emotions. Sometimes happy, then diminishing into the lowest part of the cycle, and round we go. Conscious stability anchors the awareness outside of the cycling consciousness, and because the stream of awareness is not broken, we remember all the cycles, and the spell of worldly consciousness is broken because the awareness is stabilized through mindfulness, and this results in the greater concentration, the stable view of reality, which we can call a small awakening. All experiences of awareness of the greater view that are outside the worldly view could be called experiences of the higher happiness, the greater view, cosmic consciousness, awakened state, wisdom mind. The biggest problem the world has with realizing the higher view of the greater view is that nobody has pointed it out, and therefore no one has confidence in the view. Confidence is everything, because when the mind is permeated by reality, confidence arises spontaneously and surpasses language as an expression. When we meditate on the Buddha to start, we are only going to look at the golden object. The figure of a person does not appear to the mind. It is simply a gold-colored object. Hold it out in front of you about an arm's length away. The correct distance is where the eyes can focus without stress. I'm just explaining it to you now. When you meditate at home, you must put the Buddha onto some kind of stand covered with a white cloth, so when you sit down the figure is slightly below eye level, but you do not want to be looking down on it. Make sure the light is not creating shadows and is not too bright or too soft, just comfortable. Sit in your normal meditation posture with back straight and natural breathing, have eyes relaxed and at least half open. In the beginning, our meditations will be 10 minutes, and I would like you to do it twice a day, preferably in the morning and evening, but you can choose the times if those times are not available. In the future, I will tell you when to move up to longer 15 and then 20 minutes meditations.
Do I just look at it? Is there anything that I have to do with my mind? If my mind goes off the object, do I bring it back, and as my mind gets distracted, just bring it back each time?
Yes, that's exactly right. When the mind gets distracted, we bring it back onto the object. That's why it's called the meditation object. Yeah, things will happen in your mind. Lots and lots of things. If you think you can look at something for 10 minutes without thoughts coming, you are wrong. You will be surprised by all the things that will come into your mind. You might start and it feels easy, but within 1 minute you will be thinking about shopping lists and the people you didn't call, or be planning a holiday or something that happened 20 years ago. But don't worry about it, that's an expected part of the meditation, it's part of the process, and everybody has to go through it before they develop stability. Probably everyone thinks that when they meditate they get open the gates of heaven and meet God or something like this. While that is a possibility, it is not the purpose. There are 3 purposes to this beginner's meditation. The first purpose is to see the distracting nature of the mind and realize that this is a disruptive and unwanted condition. Unless we regularly face this experience, we cannot come to realize that this unruly mind exists in us 24 hours a day. Because the vast majority of people are experiencing this disorderly state of mind doesn't mean it should be accepted or considered normal, because it is unnecessary and undermines the lives of everyone in society. The second purpose of meditation is to apply the antidote of mindfulness to the unruly mind. Applying mindfulness is nothing more than gently guiding the mind back onto the object. The more times we apply mindfulness, the more natural it becomes, and eventually, mindfulness requires very little effort. The third purpose of meditation is to develop concentration, which is the result of resting the mind on the meditation object. Because the mind has been wild for a long time, so in the beginning it will seem like the mind is hard to train, but after a while we will make progress and the mind will start to rest on the object. Of course, there are cycles, and sometimes it will be easy and sometimes difficult, but eventually even the cycle will become stable, and this is when concentration has matured. We will know when concentration has stabilized because our whole life experience will stabilize. We will be much happier with more emotional stability, better confidence, and ability to express ourselves. When we experience stable abiding and concentration, everything appears brighter, happier, easier, and much more rewarding. One warning is: do not expect too much, because preconceptions block the experience. Simply allow whatever comes to come, good or bad, and follow the plan. If you can do this without too much stress or finding fault in yourself, and the results will come. When you're meditating, imagine you're dealing with the child. You don't want to be too harsh or the child will rebel, so it's better to be supporting and encouraging and understanding and patient, but we should also be firm and make sure we are not sloppy. Do and complete our meditations. Understand that thinking is self-narrative, it's automatic, and although the thoughts come spontaneously, eventually the content and the narratives are something that we can administer. Meditation is the door to the awareness of our subconscious condition, and it gives us the power to determine what to keep and what to discard. This is the most powerful opportunity in all of existence to become the master of our own mind.
Yes, I need to learn how to be the master of my own mind. That will be great.
When you meditate regularly, something amazing will start to happen. You will experience a deep transformation. I have done hundreds of different meditations throughout my life, and I have unique realizations from each different meditation flowering in my mind. It is something truly amazing that nothing has been lost and that every moment of meditation has become meaningful in my life. The effect of meditation is not equal to the cause, is not like 2 + 2 is equal to 4. No, it's like 2 + 2 is equal to 1 million or even a billion. Once we have stabilized, the mind becomes truly useful and we can apply to anything we care to achieve. Meditation transforms your inner and outer reality. It purifies your connection with the life force and makes everything meaningful. But meditation is impossible to understand unless we are introduced to its deeper meaning through the view. We view things at face value, which is what we learn through culture and what we learn from school, and this is the normal conditioned mind of our society. Now we need to train the mind to see the true scope of things from a panoramic perspective. This is not something hard to do. In fact, the mind has a propensity for this. That's why we are insatiably unsatisfied. This is why we suffer, because we do not feel fulfilled, because we are effectively looking at reality through a keyhole, a very narrow perspective. When we experience anything, we should be mindful of the cause and the event and the effect. This is the natural way of looking at things, and yet modern society is so engrossed with entertainments that it has lost perspective and the connection with reality. By meditating, our possessions will become weaker and our habits and interests will begin to change and evolve. In the past, we didn't realize that we were fatigued and in bad condition. We didn't know what reality was because we had never tasted higher happiness. We didn't know what was possible in the scope of reality. We mistakenly thought we had to earn happiness when it was always present inside us. So we have the choice: do we want to go back to our old habits, or do we want to sit in blissful meditation a couple of times a day and listen to an inspiring talk once a week? If we go back to our old habits, the result may be even worse. Now we are aware of how to change. We need to make the change. We need to become responsible. We need to become good leaders for ourselves and our families. And we need to develop good qualities that are long-lasting. This is the easiest, best, and only way to true happiness. The meditation is only one part. It's like rice, and the philosophical talks are another part, the vegetables. Together they form a perfectly balanced meal. This is healthy for the mind, body, and spirit, and what we don't know now will become apparent as we make progress. The most important point at this moment is to understand why we are here, and from this point, we put all doubts to one side and move forward faithfully, and this is the way to realize results. It is essential to understand these talks. All the words are plain and comprehensible. There is no jargon. If you have any questions, feel free to ask and I will be happy to clarify any misunderstandings. These talks are about pointing out the scope of reality. We are not trying to measure anything, because the reality of nature ranges far beyond language, science, and dimensions. I'm not asking you to believe in my big picture, but I am encouraging you to nurture and feeling your own big picture of existence that includes the heavens, the pure realms, Buddha, space and time, and the nature of mind. When I talk about them, they are little dots that introduce your awareness as placeholders that are waiting for you. Fill in your own big picture like a paint-by-numbers view of existence. When I explain to you that the mind can travel through time and space instantly, but the body cannot. So, the mind is the foundation of the body, the greater reality. When I talk about spirits and there being more than one body, I don't want you to believe this blindly, but it is designed to lead you to a greater view. If you have some faith, then you can step forward and test these concepts and see if they ring true in your own mind over time. Above all, don't flat out reject the words of your teacher, but entertain the idea of how these concepts may merge together into the greater reality. You don't need to be in a hurry to understand everything clearly, but as you grow and your light shines in, all of these principles get absorbed into the mind and become an ever clearer understanding. Be natural. You won't have to make any extreme effort. Because worldly becoming will bring whatever is necessary to fill in your picture. Because that's the nature of things. It's like when you're a baby, naturally you get fed when you're hungry. You don't get left to die. When you ask existence for some help, there has to be a response. You don't just get left to die. That's not the nature of things. The nature of things is this. The answer will come if you mindfully ask the question. This means you open that door to reality, the door that you never opened before. You might say, I feel destitute in my life, and I just don't know what's next. Okay. I don't know, reality. What do I need to do? And then, because you asked a question, and you've been honest and open, that you've put aside your fake I am good mask. We can't live that life anymore. Okay. Life is wonderful. Life is flowing through me. So how can I be wonderful? Ask the question. Mind is really powerful, such as the mind is created by nature. Don't be the person that goes around saying I know, I know. I know. That I know person is extremely ignorant. They don't know much. The honest, faithful, intelligent person is not afraid to say I don't know, can you please tell me? This kind of person is open and honest and primed and ready to receive knowledge. This is the real shining light, the nature shining through that person because they're opened the door to the flow of becoming.
I am sorry. It's been difficult. Yeah, I'm obsessive, just like, yeah. But my obsession is kind of a healthy one.
Ever since I was born, I was always obsessed with the greater reality. When I was about 4 years old, I remember asking my father, why are we here? I remember thinking, my dad should be able to tell me the meaning of life because he's an adult and he's my father. He said, what are you talking about? I asked him why was I born? He just said, why are you asking me this stuff? I was motivated to ask these things was because I was having amazing dreams and life experiences at that time that were so intense that they affected me profoundly, so I was looking for some direction and support. When I was very small, I remember looking at some glowing colored translucent plastic. It was the first time I'd seen such bright colors. I remember picking up and observing the small plastic object as an intense feeling of joy exploded my heart and I was overcome with happiness. My whole body felt alive and I remember having tears of joy. Whenever I pick up this kind of plastic, I still get the same joyful experience. It doesn't seem to matter whether it's green, red, or blue or yellow. Looking at the plastic releases this incredible energy within my mind and body. Another time I was about 8 years old and was just walking along at the swimming pool, and I remember being overwhelmed by incredibly relaxed feeling, and I looked at this woman about 30 m in the distance. I had the perception of a small diamond-like object about the size of 2 sesame seeds slowly falling from above my head. I couldn't see with my eyes, but I could see the whole scene from outside my body. This small diamond entered in through the top of my head and slowly traveled down and entered my heart, where it exploded with great bliss that filled my body and slowly shot out into the world. The experience lasted several minutes, and in this time I didn't feel like my feet were touching the ground. Everything was just bright and blissful. It was far greater happiness and love feeling where existence and the world seemed to be linked through my senses and body. This experience appeared to me as great wisdom, but I couldn't understand intellectually language and I couldn't explain it. I certainly didn't have anyone to talk to about it because no one understood what I was talking about. Now I do clearly understand the meaning of these experiences. Because I know that everybody has the potential to experience these realizations and that they are not unique to myself. This has led me to want to develop the life skills to help others to realize their own greater potential. I have had many mysterious experiences as a child growing up, and because these experiences are life-changing, it is important that there is open dialogue and support for people who are awakening to the greater reality. When I needed it, there was no support. Because everyone is connected with this same deeply intuitive reality, a way of experiencing the greater truth beyond science and words, I believe it's very important for the evolution of humanity that this view of reality becomes revealed and takes a place in our culture and society, and not just attributed to religion, fiction, or make-believe. I went to the church and asked the priest because I wanted to know what was going on. The priest didn't know what to say. And no one I met seemed to have this joy. All I knew is that these things are natural and free, and I intuitively knew everybody could experience this higher happiness. What I'm saying is that higher happiness is not different than worldly happiness, but it is just more complete. It doesn't depend on chocolate, worldly things. It doesn't depend on things that you can obtain and will end. The higher happiness simply depends on the quality of the view, which is long-lasting and free. This kind of happiness is reflected onto all things and comes from basic gratitude and respect. This happiness is the light of wisdom that penetrates through everything that is obscuring your view, so all impediments or obstacles or problems, it just sees through them. Although there are real problems in the world, like if the lover runs away with another person, of course, we become unhappy. But that's the normal cycle of worldly happiness. It does not last forever and must come to an end at some stage. But that's coming. Just like, death is coming. But there's a fearlessness that comes with the higher happiness, and it's not higher. It's just complete happiness. It's like a circle doesn't have a beginning or an end. Yeah, when the circle is complete, there's no point of reference. Actually, it doesn't have a size, it doesn't have a beginning or an end. And when you realize that existence or happiness doesn't have a beginning or an end because it is perpetual, even unhappiness has happiness, there's no more fear. When you're certain of that 100% that there's zero doubt. Death is no longer frightening. Of course, death could be painful. And of course, we're scared of dying. I mean, if we got sick with cancer or we got hit by a bus we're going to feel some pain, but most of the pain is psychological, and this kind of pain is what we have felt most of our lives. It is self-inflicted, self-created, imaginary, and illusion. We become obsessed with this view of reality where we are the victim who is suffering from circumstances. So whatever object that we are focusing on, we need to replace it with something that is healthy and can benefit the mind. And if we do this for long enough, we will experience major transformation. This is what brings higher happiness, and if you have faith, it will come quickly. Because we are all capable of putting so much energy into unhealthy obsessions, then surely we are capable of putting equal energy into something that is positive and affirming, that nourishes the mind and view and our connection with reality. Being obsessed does not need to be a terrible thing. If we can become mindfully aware of the obsession, then we can change the focus or object of obsession into something that is positive, healthy, and transformative. Do you see what I'm saying? It's a good thing. Fall in love with your path towards higher happiness. So, keep the object within the family or within a manageable environment where our purpose can be stabilized and produce meaningful results.
I want to love my parents, but because we have so much history and many difficult times, it's easy to be emotional toward them in our relationship.
Just imagine, for whatever reason, if we never saw our parents again, ever. Never saw your parents again, ever. They're in our minds or in our hearts. If we were to say, Mom and Dad, although things have been difficult between us, I know your intentions were good as were mine, and so I would like to put all our difficulties behind us and move forward with a positive heart and a happy mind. Now you imagine your mom and dad agreeing to this because it is the right thing to do. Now we imagine our parents in front of us and we say, I really do love you and I want you to be happy, and I know you love me and wish the same for me and the family. I'm thinking about you with a happy heart. Now we imagine this scene and we imagine we are all very pleased and they may be smiling and all in agreement. We feel a great weight has lifted and there's a lot of joy and forgiveness. Whether you can or can't truly feel the love doesn't matter at all. In the beginning, we set the scene and we practice this meditation repetitively until the cycle comes to the right moment with the joy and happiness starts to flow and penetrates the scene of the meditation. Now that we are on the path, our view is getting clearer and clearer, and as light is brighter, soon the positive result will come from this meditation and all will be forgiven. Even if the parents do not directly realize the transformation in the relationship between you, they will soon begin to understand intuitively and things will begin to change. Is it clear? So that's the view we need to create, and don't be too greedy by expecting to get somewhere immediately. Otherwise, we're blocking the natural flow. Just let it unfold in its own time. That's the key to making progress, is allowing the worldly becoming to arise as our path and seeing whatever comes with the pure mind. If we don't quite understand the meaning of what I'm saying, then let's be patient, because we'll talk about this view of reality from many perspectives in the future. Okay, it will soon become ever clearer. Does that make sense? Yeah, with a little bit of faith and guidance and mindfulness, our big picture will start to fill in quickly. Whatever we see, we no longer say, I don't like this, I don't like that. This is right and that's wrong, and stand on the biased side. And push other things away. That old view will start to soften, our preconceptions will soften. And then we will allow the flow, the good or bad, to be wisdom, whatever comes, and we won't be running away from things and running after other things. Yeah, because everything will become motivating.
Even though you're a very wise man and are supposed to be very good at things. But sometimes I thought you are not good at things, like you're not good at relationships either. So, as you said, you just focus on your own happiness.
The most important thing anyone can do is to manage their own happiness. That doesn't mean we put ourselves first. In many cases we will put others first. But we are the ones that have to make that decision, and because of this we cannot please all the people all the time, and that should never be our aim. The aim is to manage as best we can with the skills we have the flow of values that we encounter both from our own minds and from the world around us. Nobody can make perfect decisions, and everyone has some level of uncertainty. All of these events that come into our lives are opportunities to practice patience, wisdom, and so when we got knocked off balance we practice finding our center by applying our patience and wisdom without creating and escalating problems. We try to rest in the view that penetrates the worldly circumstances around us without becoming too anxious. If we can practice looking at things from outside of the circle with the view of the bigger picture, then we will make progress on the path of realization. When we are drawn back into the circle and emotionally tumbled around by events, then we try to remember our big picture of the greater view, the higher happiness, the wisdom mind that we are talking about here. And this will allow us to release at least momentarily from our compulsions. Being good at relationships is extremely important in life and is something that everybody can learn, but until we have a valid view of reality, our relationships will always be based on the wrong view. So, it is better not to invest the life in social networking until we have a viable and valuable reason. I like to base my relationships on the values of humanity rather than on individual people. This could lead to misunderstandings, but all relationships encompass ups and downs, and that's just life. These ups and downs, highs and lows, happy and sad, all provide the opportunity to learn something meaningful. How do we make this world more heavenly? Do we need to plant seeds of wisdom? Do we have to meditate to better understand our connection with reality? It all starts by developing the mindful self-awareness habit. It is not self-conscious worrying about yourself, putting yourself above others. No, 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 no. Self-awareness is understanding the scope of your ability to develop positive thinking that will help you with both personal and worldly life. These are the first steps in the direction towards happiness, realization, and fulfillment. Without taking these first steps, we wander haphazardly through life, sometimes happy, sometimes sad, sometimes in good relationships, and sometimes struggling. We only view things from inside the circle that encompasses happy and sad. If we develop our greater view and believe in higher happiness, then we will see outside of that circle and we will realize that happiness and sadness are connected, good and bad, up and down. Good relationships and bad relationships are all connected. We cannot have one without the other, and because of this realization we're no longer fooled or trapped within the circle. We now have the wisdom to look from the outside and see, oh, I'm unhappy, but I know happiness follows sadness, so I am no longer deceived by these worldly cycles. I'm not really focused on my own happiness. It's more like I am motivated to work towards the greater happiness of others, and I understand that people are caught within the worldly cycle and I'm ultimately powerless to make them happy by my own means. But I can motivate people to develop their own ability to realize greater happiness. And yes, feeling this flow of energy is a force of nature. Feeling this nature flowing through my continuum opens my mind and heart, and while this does not pay in worldly value, it makes me realize my connection with greater happiness. In our lives we have the perfect opportunity to create a masterpiece. We have all the materials and the time, and the teachers. There is no excuse for not living to our potential. Of course, we make all kinds of excuses, but in reality, we didn't plant the right seeds and water them, and we let the garden of our minds become wild and filled with misconceptions. The mind is so immensely powerful with unlimited potential. If we let it run randomly and do not seek to manage and nurture it, then of course it will inevitably become chaotic. Nothing useful will come about lives unless we plan our garden, plant the seeds and nurture them. We must manage our garden and remove the weeds. If every generation of people does this, then our children and humanity and the future of the world will be bright, and the world will become ever more heavenly. We have to be patient and learn how to be good curators of the mind. Perhaps the most important responsibility we have in life is not to leave a mark on the world. Instead, it would be better to nurture a pure view and connection with reality. I do not want to help people with their personal problems because this does not solve the root of their problems. Perhaps I could become commercially inclined and do wonderfully empowering guided meditations and tell people not to worry, and I would focus on teaching wellness for profit. But this would be impossible for me to do because my motivation is to help people to help themselves. So instead of doing guided meditation and making people dependent upon me, I would rather teach people how to really meditate, and this takes some concentration effort and determination. This appeals to a much smaller percentage of people who generally have a greater need. So I'm not interested in providing short-term solutions or support that does not transform but only leads back to the original problem. I understand that teaching cosmic wisdom is directed toward the heart of the matter and is only suitable for those who have suffered enough to realize the supreme importance of opening hearts and minds. There are 3 categories of people that are most receptive to my teachings. 1. Those who were already born with a deep connection with reality and who want to stimulate this connection by following the path of someone who has realizations. 2. The spiritual shoppers who read many different kinds of books from different religions and philosophies. They are extremely proud and competitive about their knowledge. Their ego dominates them everywhere they go, and so they cannot fit into the group culture unless they are number one. And they become like satellites that circle different philosophies without ever penetrating the heart meaning of the teachings. These people have great intentions, but what they learn is mostly dogma, and because of their aloof attitude, they receive little value. They will attend a few meetings and then move on to the next school of philosophy, and they cycle around and around. Eventually, they will think they know everything even though they can find no solution to their constant suffering. These are very important people because they will ultimately become exhausted and fall into the 3rd category. 3. Those who have been suffering for many lifetimes and who are exhausted from searching for solutions to understand why every effort that they make leads back to anguish. They cannot comprehend why they are not capable of commanding respect from others, and so their words always fall upon hostile or deaf ears, and their efforts are always misinterpreted. They constantly face obstacles that lead them back to hopelessness. These people only have 2 choices: find a solution or fall into oblivion. These wonderful people are most in need, therefore they're the most receptive to the teachings and will rise the quickest because they have no distractions. In many cases, these people will outshine all others and are the first ones to awaken. Ever since I was a child, my core values have always been connected with comprehending the view of the greater reality. When I was a child, I had experienced many levels of awakening, but at the age of 11 years old I experienced a great awakening, and since then that's been my core motivation. These realizations did not help me with my worldly view, but I did realize that I would need to develop powerful life skills if this awakening was going to be meaningful in my worldly life. Spiritual awakening can be challenging because it doesn't provide a direct path on which to flourish in the worldly environment. This is the greatest challenge for the spiritual realization, to gain traction to positively influence the lives of worldly people. This is my mission, to express a greater truth into the world to help further the evolution of humanity.
So where did your awakening come from? If you were so young, how could you know all these things?
The awakening is a continuation of the spiritual and philosophical work done in past lives. The qualities that were previously developed were the seeds incubated, then nurtured, and hatched these qualities intuitively in this life. Even though I was not fully conscious of these flowering qualities within my life, I experienced them through various transformative dreams and the spontaneous ability to meditate, and through incredibly powerful experiences that just seemed to bloom randomly in my consciousness. Now I look back on my life stream, I realize the irrepressible nature of awakening was inevitable. Living in China, I love the culture here, although it can be challenging and sometimes I have to learn new attitudes and approaches because in China people are not so direct. And people like to hear things in different ways. So maybe I just am too direct. I just do my best to understand people, and these challenges help me to be more understanding and also to grow personally by building my character. All good qualities and abilities come from the seeds planted in past lives. In many cases, we need to become aware of these inequalities before we can nurture the seeds and benefit from the fruits. This is why it's so vitally important that we nurture and grow our big picture of reality. This picture encompasses the worldly life we live and the self-awareness of our inner and outer potentials emotionally, intellectually, physically, expressively, and functionally. We must also develop comprehension of the nature of the realms of existence and include in this big picture the potential reality of ghost spirits and the transformation of these essences and how they move through existence through the nature becoming. Our big picture will include history, creativity, arts, science, philosophy, and other life skills. We will never stop learning because we will be motivated by understanding the nature of worldly becoming and the cycles of becoming until we die. Nurturing our awareness of the scope of existence allows relevance to all past life experiences and efforts, whether they were positive or negative, doesn't matter because they will synchronize into our big picture as everything takes its natural position spontaneously. This power of realization is the penetrating luminosity of the mind that transforms all negativities into meaningful wisdom.
So, Adam, what do you get out of this teaching? How does it benefit you?
Helping others gives greater context, add challenges that develop life skills to enrich my life, and it is the opportunity to allow the flow of truth through worldly becoming because people ask and people have needs, so this is the perfect environment for transformative realization and truth to flow into the world. If this flow can happen through me, then it increases the capacity like a small river becoming a big river, and this is a way of living a really meaningful life. If I help 100 people in my life in a profound way and they transform and each of them helps another 100 people, then that's already 10,000 people. In 2 generations, that's in only 50 years, if those 10,000 people each help 100 people, that's already 1 million people. If I write a book and 1 million people read it, then that will transform the world. So, imagine what someone can do in their many lifetimes. The results are incalculably good. This is why we have heaven, pure realms, and this is why we also have hells, because we can do incalculably bad things too.
I have never had that feeling that I was connected to anything in a strong way.
That can't be true because you are totally connected to everything. The life force that flows through me also flows through you. It's in the food we eat, the water we drink, is the air we breathe, it's in the people we see, it flows through our senses and our minds and is remembered in our experiences. It is everywhere and it is everything. By nurturing the view that includes this understanding, however, we do it whether it's a true positive affirmation or through listening to the teachings or through sitting or peaceful parking listening to the birds. There is a path to realization in every experience and every environment. It's just a matter of becoming more aware. Faith in the teachings is the key. Follow a teacher who has realizations and you will soon make progress. Because we might not ever get a balanced view yet doesn't mean life isn't meaningful. So don't give up when we're just beginning. This is the hardest part. Remember, when we look at things from the bigger view, we cannot be fooled into believing the lower part of the cycle is real. We have been through the cycle so many times and we know that happiness and sadness are connected. So when we get into the sad mind, we know it's not as real as it seems and that it's transient and will soon pass. This is looking at the world from the greater view of the awakened mind. It's actually very easy to do, but we have to practice mindfully. To practice mindfully, we need to develop concentration through meditation. It's really as simple as that. But we must practice and we must be patient and allow time for the worldly becoming and the cycles to expose to our mind and wash away wrong views. Once we see this process happening often enough, our faith and balance and knowledge will increase and will soon become confident and expressive people who are grateful for existence and rejoice in life. At the moment we struggle only because things are veiled and we can only see part of the truth. But we remove these veils, and the sun of wisdom penetrates and disperses the dark clouds of doubt and uncertainty. Then we can really feel connected without any doubt. We can feel the force of life flowing freely through us, and there is absolutely no doubt in this is the nature of realization. People who have many doubts may walk through pristine nature on a most beautiful day, maybe along the beach, hearing the waves, tasting the salty air. As the birds fly majestically overhead, the smell of the cool sea breeze on a warm day, children laugh and play in the sand as the fish jump in the bountiful ocean. Yet the girl is in a miserable state because all she can think about day after day, month after month, year after year is the long-lost boyfriend halfway across the world who she is madly in love with but has never met face to face. Of course, her parents and family worry about her, but she thinks they don't understand true love, and so her quarrel with them has caused division and has become a device to hide behind as she falls ever deeper into misery and loneliness. Most people have some form of this kind of fixation in their lives where they feel misunderstood, the victims of cruel circumstances. This may become the anchor that keeps them in touch with what they believe is reality. But in reality, it's only an illusion. We are in such a hurry to get somewhere in the future, to be somewhere that we are not now. We can never relax and enjoy and never truly appreciate what we have because we always want more. Fixation is by nature insatiable. Whether we create combative environments at home with our family, at work with the boss, we always seem to be delayed, the victim, and everyone else is to blame. This is because we grasp at our ego. Why would we invest our lives and our futures in these kinds of illusions?
Do you have an ego now?
Yes, I certainly do. There's nothing wrong with having an ego or self-image. In fact, it is necessary to have an individual character that has been manufactured and represents the experience and expressions of the individual's journey in existence. The problems with egos is that they are allowed to manifest based on wrong views. An ego that evolves believing that they are either superior, the victim of others, can never be happy. Happiness is a skill that can be learned by anybody only after they have an accurate view of reality, otherwise their view is baseless and random. Although they will certainly experience plenty of happiness in the life, happiness will be short-lived and lead to suffering, because happiness is not something you can control. Happiness is something that is coupled to life. So you get happiness out of killing, you could get happiness out of eating too much chocolate, but it would only lead to unhappiness from guilt and sickness. True happiness, the higher happiness, comes from the bigger view that embraces the worldly view where happiness and sadness are connected. This solves all dualistic thinking and therefore all struggling. When thinking manifests the ego as a matter of habit, it will always lead to emotional conflicts leading to discontent. When thinking manifests truth or wisdom, for example the thought that everybody has the same nature, so I am not better than you but I may be different because of my journey, or, even though you have done wrong and are suffering now, I too have suffered in the past and we are no different, this is the manifestation of wisdom that does not put one's ego above others. Because I'm not a Buddha but I am a somewhat realized being, although this is a clumsy and inaccurate representation of truth, there seems to be a scale from 1 to 100 that extremely loosely describes humanity's qualities such as wisdom, compassion, intelligence and realization, and any other quality we could imagine. Of course, a Buddha is off the chart and completely unfathomable, but we could say that earthly humanity in general is only reached a small percentage of its potential. I would say probably less than 20%, but who knows? This is not a serious attempt to explain the potential of Earth's humanity, but what I'm trying to say is there's plenty of scope for improvement and that people's deportment is extremely disordered. It's like if I got a glass of water and I stirred a teaspoon of mud into it, of course, it would turn brown and taste awful. Just remember that water is elemental and it can never be mixed together with mud. The mud will always settle when the water is distilled. Like the water, the mind is also elemental. The mind is the most fundamental element in existence and it is distinct from all objects that entered, like thoughts and emotions, views and visions, memories, etc. So when the mind is distilled, eventually it will experience clarity, and when the quality of that clarity is clearly recognized, it becomes an aspect of the view, an aspect of reality that is used to comprehend the nature of things from a more complete perspective. Every time we fall into cyclical thinking, we stir up the veils that clouded our perception. Every time we experience awareness from outside of cyclical thinking, we allow the nature of becoming to flow without clinging to and disrupting this flow of becoming. This is pure mind. So, when we say I feel angry, frustrated and violent, and we know that it's a short-term event and the mind will settle down and the happy state will return, in this case, we do not act violently, we do not show and express destructive behavior. When we have the power to do this once, we can do it twice. If we can do it twice, we can do it 10 times. If we can do it 10 times, then we know for sure this is the beneficial wisdom mind at work. And eventually we'll start saving energy and have the power to reach the end of the path of realization, because we are not constantly depleting our energy on meaningless struggles. Even if we don't know the way at the moment, we use our faith and follow the teachings, and we can save energy this way until we can manage ourselves effectively and become independent. Because the teachings ring true and we respect and believe our teacher, this encourages us and gives us strength to get through difficult times. When we break the cycle of dependence, addiction and misconduct, something amazing happens. All of the power that we would have wasted gets absorbed and inspires the mind. It brings brightness and clarity. Confidence inspires faith and even greater motivation. If we can let go of obsession and just challenge my habit, replace the object with other values, even if I don't fully comprehend, that's called faith. Soon that investment in faith will pay dividends x 1000. The ability to choose the right person to trust, trusting that person is an amazing step to take. That means we are no longer striving alone, we have the force of humanity on all sides supporting us. This realization is the elemental view of humanity, which means you experience the quality of humanity in all beings. Our love and compassion permeates all beings. Okay, faith will pay off. And just like saving some love, save a little bit of love, a little bit of trust, a little bit of care, and saving those things. Until you don't feel impoverished, then you will feel nourished and your love and riches will overflow, then you can use them and project them freely. When we are in good condition, meditation comes easily. This kind of meditation will sustain you like food. It will charge your awareness batteries with the constant source of energy that keeps the conscious connection to the world open. These habits will grow a tree of life that bears the fruits of the seeds you planted on the path of realization. And all your actions will bear the fruits of realization.
That is really wonderful. I will continue to practice meditation and come to the talks.
Reality is not complex, it's only the world that is full of infinite complexities. The higher happiness intuitively solves all complications, because it is the subtle nature of those complexities that can be experienced intuitively without numbers, language, or science. All that is required is to observe the flow of becoming. If I had the aim of buying a house, how much would I need? Maybe $1 million. I am obsessed, so I work and work and work and save the money to buy the house. It's my lifetime goal. Although I'm pleased to do it, I still don't feel fulfilled along the journey. My sole aim is to earn $1 million. The higher happiness would say try to be happy in your job, therefore, should respect my boss, be healthy, I should eat well, should treat people well, I should make a good effort for which I am fairly rewarded. Some of these things are easy to obtain individually, but finding the logic and balance to achieve all of them is very rare. So yeah, you can have the aim of earning $1 million to buy a house, but obsessing about it destroys the journey, and certainly, everyone we meet along the life journey is more important than a house. And even if we do buy the house that we strive for, we start to compare our house to other houses. If houses are worse than our house, then we will be proud and feel superior, and when our house is worse than other houses, we will look for faults to try to devalue something superior. This kind of obsession does create a strange kind of happiness, and it can become a quirk of a sarcastic, condescending character. It's surprising how many people have a condescending flaw in their character without even knowing it, but everyone else knows it. This is why happiness is such an important life skill, because it is infectious. Buying a house and getting the $5 million, but you don't have to obsess about it and feel like until you've done that you're a failure. And that's the only thing that's valuable. You think all of the other things can be a fun journey. And it could be good enough that someone doesn't like me and hates me, I don't have to believe in that because I have a higher value than that. So, we learn to think in other ways that support that journey.
I've never had a great interest in money. I don't know why I've never paid big attention.
We live in such a materialistic and prosperous time and have so many possessions. We are the luckiest people in history. If we compare ourselves to kings and emperors of the past, we are much richer than any of them. Although they owned the land and controlled armies, their lives were never as prosperous and comfortable as our lives are. We can fly in airplanes around the world. We have abundant meats, fish, fruits, and vegetables that were unheard of just 50 years ago. All this has come from technology and transportation and communications. When I see children obsessing over games and phones and the mother takes the phone away from them, the children become furious. They feel mentally disturbed and resentful, and so they make the mother's life hell and undermine the family harmony. They rebel and don't listen in school. All of this is psychological poverty. That's because our education does not have the values it needs to nourish the mind and heart and stabilize the outlook on life. We have to learn these things in personal surroundings, privately outside of the accepted education in social environments. Until we understand this, we will continue to live in psychological poverty. There has never been a time in world history when anyone has lived such luxurious lives as we live now, but we are still ungrateful. In family situations, we can put all our heart and soul into developing a good environment and being great parents, but no matter how hard we try, the results will be fruitless unless we have the skills and knowledge and confidence to be good leaders within the family. Happiness is very hard to achieve. Often the harder you try, the more conflict arises. It's like being addicted to gambling and constantly losing is the only thing you know, and we believe tomorrow will be a lucky day. Of course, this is destined to fail. The only solution is to start out on a new path and build a strategy from the basics toward achieving the goal of family happiness. To do this, we have to learn some psychology, go to some meetings, take some interest, to ask some questions. Above all, we should not expect immediate results. We should try a few different things to see how they work over the course of time. The hardest thing is to break our old habits, even if we know they are wrong, but we always delay making difficult decisions. These are cycles that we have power over, but we seldom think outside of the habit cycle because the mind is obsessed with clinging, so we cannot look beyond and see the greater scope of reality. The higher view is simply developing a faith that all possibilities exist. Once we understand the value in this view, we simply need to change our habits by regular positive thinking to affirm and normalize this evolved view. Then it will replace the negative habits.
I like it. You said that people just like to get used to the old habit.
With mindful practice, wisdom view opens to reality. It's the habit cycle. We need to change our attitude to the things in the cycle, the things we're focusing on, and insert positive attitudes and views. The hardest thing is just in the beginning to give up the old habits and replace them with new habits. And then they will settle in the memory. But of course, the old habits will come back. And then you will have to reinforce the new habit with positive thinking until it becomes normal. Everyone will be a little different. But the point is, you just have to say, okay, I'm on a new path. Now. The path to realization, path to happiness. I don't have the time or the energy to gamble my house on a number.
You know, what is my purpose? Sometimes I miss you, sometimes have dreamed about you. Yeah, I know. Stupid. Yeah. So, it's so beautiful thing.
You know, the greatest stories in life are the love stories or the tragedies. Tragedy, those are the most popular selling stories. You know, it's the stories that everyone loves, a good tragedy. Tragedies are compelling and draw people into the story because they don't have to live the tragedy in their own life. They can experience it in a 2-hour movie, or maybe a 2-week book. You know, The Wind in the Willows or The Something I Don't Know, whatever the tragedy. So yeah, I mean, better just buy a book about tragedy and you can have a good cry and realize the end result is not happiness. The feeling that we need to live a compelling life is simply not true. To the awakened mind, every moment is compelling, and there is absolutely no need to suffer unless you are burning off all negativity, in which case suffering is transformative and useful. The real happiness is in you because you are the one projecting your love onto another person. Love never came from that of the person, the love is actually in your connection with the life force. You just found an object to focus the love upon. It could be a flower. If you didn't meet that same person, you would have met someone else, and if not them, then it would be someone else. They're not even real. They don't exist. Whether or not they care for you doesn't matter. You are a leader of a family and you have some responsibilities, and you need to be happy. That's your primary goal. It doesn't matter how much money you have, or how well you feed your daughter, or how much you encourage her, or even what you say to her. If you are not happy, she will not be happy, because you are her reality. You have her leader, and the need to understand the environment that she consciously and subconsciously lives in depends on your happiness and your confidence. Okay, we will stop there. Thank you.